to my channel. My name is Sarah and you are most welcome to my little corner of YouTube where I like to share what I'm making, what I'm knitting, sewing, weaving and whatever textile craft I might be diving into next. But today's video is a little bit different. I am gonna take you along for the journey when I am weaving and sewing the fabric and making this skirt. So in today's video we are gonna jump back a couple of weeks in time to when I started this project. I will talk you through the video a little bit and I will see you on the other side with the finished result and what my thoughts are about it. So enjoy! So we are starting by setting up the place where I usually warp my loom. I have an ashford rigid header loom. My loom is 60 centimeters wide and I am using the shred of a 50-10. I am starting by tying the yarn to my loom and beginning to warp. I bought this cone of yarn from Holst Supersoft after getting a few recommendations about that yarn, and I think it worked out very well. It was sturdy and nice to work with, but it bloomed out beautifully as an end result, so I'm very happy about that. It's a lot of things that needs to be done before you can start weaving on a loom, but with this rigid heddle it's actually quite fast and smooth going, and we are finally to the fun part of the weaving process. After a couple of weeks of plain weaving, we are ready to cut the fabric off the loom, and this is always such an amazing feeling. I love this part, and it's always so fun to see the finished fabric coming off the loom. It's very satisfying. And there we have it, almost 4 meters of pure wool fabric. When the weaving is done, I am soaking this fabric. I am not just putting it in the washing machine because the holst supersoft has a lot of spinning oil left in the fabric, so I am just dipping this into hot soap water to rinse all the spinning oil and dirt out of the fabric. After a couple of hours of it laying there, it's time to just take the ugly water out, and you can see here how much dirt it was in the water. So after this, I just put it in the washing machine, washing it on a 15 minutes program and about 30 degrees Celsius. So it's time to start planning my project. I am gonna make a skirt out of 3 panels, and I am starting by sketching my pattern pieces, or the way I intend to sew my skirt up. I want to recommend you to a video by Maria Skua on her Patreon. I got a lot of inspiration for my skirt from her video. She have made a very similar skirt to mine. This is the way I make most of my skirts when it's with a firm waistband, but the 3 panels and how she was pleating her skirt when you have the edges of the fabric, so you have them in the pleat, is all hers. So if you want a more in-depth how this is done, please go check Maria Skua's podcast on Patreon because it's a great video. And I also want to mention that Anna, my dear friend, Waistband, she has had or have some online courses about how she is making her skirts, and I think that her and my way of making the waistband is very similar. So as long as you have the waistband, you can pleat or gather the skirt in whatever way you want to make it fit your preferred style. I usually gather my skirts more than I pleat them, but for this project I decided to do some cardboard pleating instead. So I'm starting by pressing the fabric quite a lot because I want this to be as smooth as possible when I'm laying it out to cut the pattern pieces out. So very high steam and pressing all the fabric out. After that, it's time to start cutting, and I am starting by measuring out so I get 3 pieces of fabric that is the same length. I think I chose about 85 centimeters for my length panels for the skirt. So I'm starting by measuring that out and cutting 3 pieces. Then I am cutting out the pieces for the waistband. So I decided to be quite a wide waistband of 5 centimeters. So I'm cutting 7 centimeters panels to include the seam allowance. And I am cutting 1 hole and 2 smaller pieces out to make my waistband. And there you have it. All my pattern pieces are cut out from the fabric. So I have my 3 panels and the pieces for my waistband. Since this is a hand-woven fabric and quite a loose weaving, I decided to overlock all the edges that was raw on my skirt, because I really don't want this fabric to fall apart or yeah, I just want it to last actually. And I don't think that like French steaming or folding it down by hand would do the trick for me, because it's quite a thick fabric, so I don't think the seam would be as nice and neat as I want them to be. So here I have my 3 panels, and I start by sewing together all the long edges. So I have a long tube of pieces together. I have now moved down to my work, so here I am pressing some interfacing to the waistband pieces, just to give them quite a bit of stability and don't make it stretch that much. So let's start by sewing together some pattern pieces for the waistband. I will line the waistband and the hem of my skirt with this plain, thin cotton to reduce some bulk around the waistband, and also to have a smooth cotton laying towards my stomach when I'm wearing the skirt. So here you can see my tube of fabric. I have pressed the seam very thoroughly, and as you can see here, I didn't overlock the edges of the fabric, because that is the edge of the weaving, so that will never go apart. So here you have some decisions to make, and I am, as I said before, pleating a few cardboard pleating to my waistband, but you can do this whatever way you want. You can gather it or make like small pleats all the way around, or yeah, big cardboard pleating. It's just your preferred method, and actually about how much fabric you have. If I had more panels, like 5 panels, maybe I would have gathered it to the waistband instead, but I decided to cardboard pleat my fabric instead. Here is the skirt all sewn up with the pleats. I made 2 pleats in the front and 2 pleats in the back, and I chose to do the pleats along the edges of the seam, so that would hide it a little bit. I chose to close this up with a zipper. If I am doing gathered skirts or more pleated skirts, you don't need to have a zipper in the back actually, because the fabric will just join the pieces together and become a unit. But for this, since it's quite flat in the back, I wanted to have it closed by a zipper, so I did that. And now it's time to pin the waistband to my skirt and sew it up. So when I have pinned my waistband to the fabric, overlapping a little bit in the start to be able to close it with a button, it's time to stitch it up. And after that I chose to hand stitch down the waistband on the inside, just because I like that. I actually like hand stitching a lot, and I think that is a neat and nice finish to a waistband to not have stitches on the outside, so that's what I did. So here's the waistband all sewn to the skirt, and I will start working on the hem. So I have pressed a piece of this cotton fabric by centimeters on the upper part, and I will stitch the raw part to the hem of my skirt to seal that edge in and be able to fold it in later. So here I have sewn the pieces to the skirt, and I have pressed the fabric up again, remembering to keep a little bit of overlapping of my wool fabric on the edge, because I don't want this brown fabric to show from the outside when I'm wearing the skirt. And this was quite tricky because my wool fabric is quite stretchy and the cotton is not, so I was very careful to stitch this hem band up to the skirt by machine, just to have a very unit fabric and not have the fabric stretch in any way. And there is my skirt all sewn up. I am so happy with the result of the skirt. And that is the journey for my home woven skirt. So I thought we could sit down and talk a little bit about the details of the skirt, and I will show them to you now that you have seen the finished result. And I had some fabric left from the skirt pattern, from the skirt product, so I decided to make myself a little hat. This is a newsboy's hat. I found a tutorial on YouTube where you drew your own pattern. I am super happy with it, and yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, whoa, that's you would have seen it, but yeah, this is my hat. I have ironed on interfacing on all the pieces. I made a little button to go on top, and I have lined it with the same fabric as the skirt, and instead of a silk ribbon I have used I don't know what you call it, hemslöjdsband, like this woven ribbon on the inside, just to give it a little bit of a me touch. And yeah, I'm super happy with it. It actually fits really good, and there are tons of tutorials. I even saw some with the free pattern, but I have quite a big head, so I decided to draft my own pattern, and I will definitely be doing more of these. So this is the fabric I have left from my skirt. So there are some teeny tiny bits, but I'm very happy about it. I didn't have quite like 4 meters of fabric, but almost, and to have this left of that, I'm super happy about. So yeah, I got a skirt and I got a cap. As you have seen in the pictures, I am wearing it together with a sweater that I had imagined myself wearing it with, and that is my classic Fair Isle Adenia yoke sweater. This is a pattern by Ella Gordon, and I have knitted it in Jamieson & Smith Shetland yarn, and this is some different, it's some Marie Wallin British breeds, it's some Rauma Landmulgarn, and some Jamieson in this too, so in the color work. And I'm really happy about how well they go together. It's a lot of brown and a lot of beige, but I really like it. I was going for this like tweedy vintage vibe, and I love it. So, oh, hair in my eye. So let's talk about the skirt. This is my skirt, and I'm so happy about it, and I thought I could share some details with you. I did a hidden zipper here, so quite far down. And then for the button, I thought I would do like a normal buttonhole at first, but since I am very afraid that this fabric should fray or like not stay in place, I think it's quite good, but not like fabric, store-bought fabric good. I decided to go for a snap button instead on the inside, but I didn't want the snap button to be seen from the outside, so just like I did for the cap, I made myself a button that I covered in the fabric, and then I stitched it down over the snap button on the outside, just so I don't see it. And here is my hem. So as I told you in the video, I folded the cotton band over and I saved like 0.5 centimeters of the tweed fabric on the downside, because I don't want the facing to be shown. Here is the raw edges of my weave, and I really think that the lining on the inside, down on the skirt, really give it a nice like fall and depth and some structure, because this is very flowy and loose. So yeah, I'm super happy. I'm so incredibly happy with this skirt, and I am so excited to weave some more. And I have ordered some Swedish wool yarn from Ullcentrum in this big cone, and this will be my new weaving project. So this is 1.6 kilos of wool yarn, very thin wool yarn. So I'm very excited about that. I just want to mention a couple of things before we end this video, and that is, as I said in the video before, I really want to recommend you to go check Marina out here on YouTube and on her Patreon, because she has a very, very informative and good video about how she made her woven skirt that mine is very much inspired by. So please check Marina out, because that is more of a tutorial. You can follow that and make it as she does. And I also want to recommend Anna, her skirt online course, because there you will teach yourself how to make a skirt with a fast and like with a stiff waistband. So as I said before, I have made this type of skirts many times before, but in a more gathered or more heavily pleated. So if you know how to make a waistband, you can make a skirt like this. So I want to recommend you to that, and please bear in mind that this is not a tutorial. This is my journey, my way of doing it, and I just wanted to take you along for that. So if you have liked this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and giving this a thumbs up, and please let me know in the comments what you think and what you would like to see more on this channel. Was this a good way of doing it? Do you like this a little bit more in-depth videos about a certain project? Or yeah, just let me know what you think, and happy making until I see you next time.